Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ethan. Today we're going over prosauropods as well as Ice Age cheetahs, and we're going over a dromaeosaur discovery as well. We're streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. So, heading back in time from Sci News, new bird-like dinosaur species found with remains of frog in its stomach. More than 120 million years ago in what is now China, a hungry dromaeosaur dinosaur ate a small frog. Wow, this is fascinating to hear considering there have been, I guess, in more recent years, new discoveries of different species of theropod dinosaurs with preserved stomach contents of different types of animals that they were feeding on. So I think when it comes to many people, they tend to envision if they hear about preserved dinosaur stomach contents tends to be like the herbivorous dinosaurs such as the hadrosaurs, different species of ceratopsians, like the horned dinosaurs such as triceratops, pentaceratops, and even the long-necked sauropods such as diplodocus, brachiosaurus, and argentinosaurus, which we do have stomach contents of, but they tend to be different species of leaves, as well as gastrolids or stones that they would swallow to help grind the food in their stomach, much like what a wide variety of different species of birds um, consume today to help with digestion. Wow, and it's not just like bits of the stomach contents. I mean, we have the complete preserved specimen of this animal. I wonder who this is. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with this creature. Is it Darlong guy? Okay, well, this is taking place during the early Cretaceous, like right around the end or the beginning of the Aptian
Where did you
stage.
read that?
It's just up here.
Oh,
So, interesting. Yeah, the teeth are exquisitely well preserved. I mean, you could say the whole skeleton in general. I'm wondering though if there are any preserved feathers. It's likely, considering the dromaeosaurs and especially the smaller ones are very. There are many species that have been found preserved with feathers. Also, as well, the very closely related lineage of coelurosaurs, the Paraves, which would also the Microraptorids, which would contain animals such as Sinosauropteryx, Sinornithosaurus, Microraptor, all which tend to inhabit Cretaceous China around 125 million years ago. So this is about 10 million years after certain species of theropod dinosaurs, such as baryonyx, would have existed over in England, as well as the larger iguanodontid iguanodon. Okay, so let's see what else is going on here. So the new dinosaur species lived in Inner Mongolia, China, during the early Cretaceous epoch between 130 and 120 million years ago. Dubbed Dorlong Wengai, the ancient creature was a type of mid-sized dromaeosaurid, a group of bird-like predatory dinosaurs that fed on fish, mammals, and other dinosaurs. Well, I didn't take a look at the size measurement if there was one in the picture, but medium-sized.
doesn't that
That's
depend on when in time that was for something to be considered medium?
it can, if you're referring to the whole dromaeosaur lineage in general, and also coming from early Cretaceous China, it's unlikely that this is a mid-sized dromaeosaur, a very small species, likely. Considering in Cretaceous China, in fact, let's look up another species. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So, um, I guess Microraptor, Microrapator. So, a wide variety of the different species of smaller dromaeosaurs, as well as microraptorids during this time in Cretaceous China, were not much more than maybe a couple of feet in length. They were pushing somewhere around 0.7 meters. And also, when it comes to their in quote wingspan, these animals did not have the ability to fly, but very likely glided from tree to tree. Maybe not much more than 1.5 to 3 feet in length, or pushing around a meter.
Is that one any good?
Yeah, it's okay. I think it's a drawing. Oh, well,
Well, at least
um,
it got it better.
yeah, but I think there are certain issues. I mean, when it comes to, I guess, the overall look, it's not bad. I think there is something off when it comes to the skull structure of this Microraptor. Microraptor had a bit more of a sort of roundish or a bit more of a robust type of jaw structure. Quite similar to its ancestor Archaeopteryx, or possibly, well, okay, I think it would be a very early uncle, not necessarily a direct predecessor to the Microraptorids. These were not true birds like Archaeopteryx, but they would have been very close relatives. I think it's a toy, but it's very like.
No,
I mean, it could be a model,
that's not a toy.
not? No, I guess the lizard looked a bit like a toy. That's a really good model.
That's what happens when someone bites down on you.
Uh, yeah. I mean, when it comes to microraptors in general, these animals are likely just feeding on different species of insects, maybe going after small lizards. That was quite a large one, but certainly possible. Maybe smaller amphibians, not going after any dinosaur species, maybe going after juvenile or hatchlings of other members of the Microraptor lineage, like Sinornithosaurus, Sinosauropteryx. But um, outside of that, it's not even hunting like the hatchlings of other species of dinosaurs, not even the smaller ornithopods in the region, like Jeholosaurus. This is a pretty good depiction of an Archaeopteryx. When it comes to the skull structure, especially towards the back, it's giving it a bit more of a roundish sort of a structure, or I guess what maybe like mesocephalic, I guess is how you could describe it. But also, and then it ends in a bit of a more thin and narrow jaw. But it is quite interesting as to back in the late Jurassic, at least before 148 million years ago, these animals were practically non existent. And even to the beginning of the early Cretaceous, they still weren't very common. Around 125 million years ago, you do see a massive increase in their overall variety.
Okay, I have a question. Is this one peeing?
I think he might.
Tail lifted.
Yeah, I think it would be very similar to today's birds. It would be a mixture of the waste or the dung and urine at the same time. So that's probably what it is. It's a combination of both. It's not directly urinating. Now when it comes to the skull structure of this Microraptor, maybe it's because they're not giving it a lot of plumage, especially above the head and even towards the bottom jaw. But it seems a bit, I don't know, maybe thin, possibly. It's not bad. You could have had different subspecies of Microraptor with their own distinct skull morphology, much like with what you see in certain subspecies of different types of mammals today. Okay, this seems to be a bit of an older model, but um, it's still okay. Now, I think when it comes to the wings, it's interesting. They're giving quite long hind leg feathers, considering the Microraptorids would have relied on both their hind legs and their front legs or forearms to help with gliding or to help direct them in gliding in the Cretaceous forests of China. Interesting. Is it hunting after one of the smaller birds? That is interesting. Um, there were a wide variety of different species of tiny birds at this point in the Cretaceous, even to later into the later half of the Cretaceous as well. And it's possible, depending on how small they were, I mean, considering we have hummingbirds today, that would be a very good snack for a Microraptor. It's very possible it might have hunted birds. That was not hitting me earlier. And even certain smaller species of mammals. Though you would have had certain species of mammals in Cretaceous China still weighing around 30 pounds or a little over 12 kilograms, which is massive. Let's see what else occurred. So, dubbed Dorlong Wengai, the ancient creature was a type of I think I already said that. Group of bird-like predatory dinosaurs that fed on fish, mammals, and other dinosaurs. Was it Microraptor or Archaeopteryx? Trying to remember. It might have been Microraptor, where more analysis came out in recent years showing that this animal was actually highly piscivorous. So it's very possible, meaning that it fed on a wide variety of fish. So it's likely that reptiles, amphibians, birds might have been on the menu occasionally, but they did not make up a very large part of their diet. The animal was part of the famous J-hole biota. So this is the one of the more renowned early Cretaceous ecosystems or fossil basins over in China. An early Cretaceous terrestrial and freshwater ecosystem preserved in a multi-layered rock formation in western Liaoning province and neighboring areas in northeastern China. Dromaeosauridae is a clade of small to mid-sized theropod dinosaurs known for the Cretaceous of both hemispheres, said Dr. Shuri Wang from the Institute of Geology at the Chinese Academy of Geological Sciences and colleagues.
I was waiting for Wang Fang Lang.
Yeah, um, that was nice. I didn't have to go through that.
I know that's what some of these names.
The early Cretaceous J-hole biota from northeastern China has provided a rich diversity of dromaeosaurids, the majority of which referred to Microraptorinae. So basically, the Microraptorid lineage. See, their abundance, when not due to taxonomic oversplitting, may be ecologically explained, assuming niche segregation and avoidance of direct resource competition. So the paleontologist described Dorlong Wengai from an almost complete skeleton found at the Pigeon Hill locality of the Lohang Formation in Inner Mongolia. Huh. uh, I'm guessing it might be adjacent to part of Mongolia, this area. It's not hitting me specifically where the Lohang Formation is on the map. So the holotype of Durlong Wengai is an almost complete and articulated skeleton with a length of about 1.5 meters, pushing around 4 4 foot 8 to 5 feet. The researchers also found the partial skeleton of an ancient frog and the gut contents of Darlong Wengai. Well, interesting. Okay, so this specific animal, we definitely have evidence for it feeding on amphibians. So it certainly loved frog legs. That's fascinating to hear. The reconstruction of the gastrointestinal tract in extinct species, including dinosaurs, could be inferred indirectly from gut content remains, less frequently by the analysis of copper-like contents, and rarely from exceptionally preserved remnants of the soft tissues. Yeah, that is true. Coprolites, though, which is basically fossilized dung, can be quite challenging. There have been instances where fossilized tree roots have been mistaken for coprolites. Okay, let's bring up
Wait,
somebody
wait,
else.
wait, you said copper light tree roots. It
Oh,
would be copper light.
yeah, well, yeah, the fossilized dung being the coprolite being confused for like different plant species. Which I mean, when you look at a wide variety of coprolites, it's not surprising that that occurred.
What'd you want me to do?
Oh, let's pull up Velociraptor. So Velocir. Now, the reason why I am bringing up Velociraptor,
I don't think you've ever asked me to pull them.
well, it's just been a little bit. Um, Velociraptor is, well, not coexisting with Darlong or any of the Microraptorids at this point. In fact, Velociraptor, for I mean a model
I
like
think
this,
it's a toy.
it could be or it's a
That's
realistic.
awfully furry.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. Um, well, maybe not furry, but feathers.
This is like
Well,
feather. It looks like fur.
yeah, it does look like fur.
This one looks like feathers.
Yep, and let's see. I mean, I guess his overall reconstruction isn't bad. I think his claws might be a bit off though. What was I getting? Oh, the reason why I'm bringing up Velociraptors, despite it living towards the very end of the Cretaceous around 71 million years ago over in Mongolia, this animal, we have found preserved specimens of Velociraptor with stomach contents that showed that the animal was feeding on an Asdarchid pterosaur. So a smaller species, or maybe even a individual of a related species to the giant Quetzalcoatlus or Hatzegopteryx species over in Europe and North America. That is not an authentic specimen of a velociraptor.
I
However,
just thought they bronzed him.
Yeah, and I think even when it comes to the arms, and especially looking at the foreclaws, they might be a bit off. They're almost like giving him though there would have been a slight difference in the morphology of the claw structure.
Okay, this is freaky.
It's almost like a Spinosaur instance. I'd say it's even more exaggerated than a Megaraptor to an extent. Whoa, was that supposed to be his sibling?
It looks like it.
I mean, it's possible that this could have happened. Situations like this have occurred with different species of birds, different species of mammals. So, it certainly is possible.
It's still freaky.
Yeah, it's very immoral, but in their just it's possible in the velociraptors, um, I guess just overall growing behavior, this could have occurred. Very unfortunate. This is a bit of like something that's occurred in with different stork species as well as like the shoebill over in Africa. There are a wide variety of different storks in Africa. Some just migrate to Europe and then back. So we do have evidence also though for velociraptor hunting different species of ceratopsians such as protoceratops with a preserved velociraptor and protoceratops locked in battle. Um, we can
Never mind. Won't come up.
I'm guessing that his dark-haired pterosaur was probably a youngster, or it was just a relatively small species that's just been unidentified. There have been a number of pterosaurs from Mongolia that are simply unnamed. So the Darlong Wengai specimen shows the first case of intestinal preservation in a theropod lineage very close to bird ancestry. Oh, that's it. Um, I mean, animals like Velociraptor were also quite closely related to the bird lineage as well. But yes, Durlong was slightly closer. Who else? I mean, you had Jurassic dinosaurs like Compsognathus over in Germany and France, which have also been preserved with um, I think the fossilized remains of amphibians or reptiles inside of their stomach. But I am also referring to a species of carnivore that existed about 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic. And only being about maybe 3.5 to 4 feet in length, they're pushing 1.3 meters, maybe weighing 5 to 10 pounds or a little over 3 kilograms. Okay, let's head forward in time, not directly to the modern day, but in the Cenozoic era. Newsweek.com. Prehistoric cheetahs locked in battle to death, discovered in Grand Canyon. So we are in the Ice Age, and at this point,
Doesn't
over
look very frozen.
yeah, this is likely one of our cheetahs today. Considering the American cheetah is well, it's gone through many different classifications. It was originally described by Edward Drinker Cope. In fact, let's bring him up. Americanonyx. Mirac, yeah, Inonyx.
Who spells these things?
It might have been George Soweld. I'm trying to remember the distinct paleontologist. Edward Drinker Cope also was the first paleontologist back in the late 1800s to describe Americanonyx, but that distinct genus had not appeared yet. I believe it was either Felis or possibly Acinonyx, which is the genus for the present day cheetah, um, like over in Africa and India, that was originally used, but there were many different changes. Mirror canonics came into play when it was seen with like there were over 5 or 6 different paleontologists, possibly more, that were part of the naming of Americanonyx. You had so many different members of the field that wanted in on this creature because this was like evidence that something like between a cougar and a cheetah was living in North America. So yeah, even the 1970s, there were different naming um, debates going on with this animal. I mean, even prior in like to the 1950s, all the way back to the 1880s. So there were many changes with this carnivore.
Okay,
Now,
what am I pulling up here?
okay, so that's him. Oh wait, nope, that might not be him. That's somebody else. Uh, Gosh, I wonder what other specific lineage of cat that is. I'm not going to. Hold on a second. Is this just no, I think this is him. It's just in Spanish, possibly? So they changed the Latin and Greek to Spanish? Okay. Um, where's I getting at with this? Because we have a jaguarundi, which is found in different parts of South Texas, Mexico, and even down into Central America. The cougar roams from the Yukon, possibly Western Alaska, down to Argentina. And then the American cheetah, we definitely have evidence for it existing in different parts of, believe Nevada, Arizona, California, Texas. I don't know if we have evidence for it over in Canada. It certainly is possible, maybe in some part of Alberta or the Yukon. But the American cheetah, which is technically not a cheetah, but referring to Americanonyx, was like had the built of something between like a cougar and a cheetah. Now, there have also been many theories where the pronghorn, which is the animal in this instance, which would not be the same pronghorn as today, maybe towards the end of the Ice Age, but you had a wide variety of different species of pronghorn that were existing, not just back in the Pleistocene or the Ice Age, but even further back into the Pliocene epoch, so between 3 and 8 million years ago, and then further back from about 8 to maybe even 20, possibly even earlier, 20 million years ago during the Miocene epoch. Pronghorn, these are close relatives of the modern day giraffe, and they're one of the most successful lineages of giraffoids to evolve. But they roam different parts of North America, Asia, during these three periods, and currently today, though, just in different parts of the United States, possibly the southern reaches of Alberta, but down into like part of northern Mexico. Now, the American, well, referring to Americanonyx, despite this animal being quite agile like today's cougars and cheetahs, probably a bit closer to a cougar though. The pronghorn, it seems, in its evolution, because there have been many claims of the pronghorn evolving high speed for or due to Americanonyx. But it seems to be in the pronghorn's evolution that it already evolved um, the ability for long distance running as well as high speed. So, why it evolved high speed is really still a big mystery. So, what carnivore caused this? What's another thing? So, it's likely that Americanonyx really relied on ambush, which is similar to today's cougars and cheetahs. It's just it likely was only running at maybe 30 to 35 miles per hour or somewhere around 52 to 55 kilometers per hour and a very short bursts. Cougars will feed on pronghorn today over in different parts of the American West. So, different areas of Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Colorado, and as well wolves will too. You would have even had dire wolves at this point over in North America, such as Aino Scion preying on pronghorn occasionally. Saber-toothed cats, unlikely. They were not built for speed and mainly would hunt after different larger prey items. Um, let's head back to the article. So let's see. Snow leopard like cheetahs roamed America tens of thousands of years ago, hunting mountain goats across tricky terrain, according to fossilized remains. There has been a species of mountain goat that has been discovered over in the Grand Canyon as well. There have also been Shasta ground sloths, too. So the big cat called the American cheetah, Americanonyx trumani, has long been extinct, but a study has shed new light on the animals after cave fossils were found along the Grand Canyon that were previously thought to be pumas or Puma concolor. Yeah, was it possibly George, who I'm trying to think of the paleontologist that saw enough distinction in the morphology of Americanonyx that decided to separate it from both the cougar and the African cheetah genus. but it also looks like it's more closely related to the cougar in general. In the new study, researchers state that they carried out a review of the fossils and they now argue that the designation of a Runculobrian puma, that is, pumas from between about 250,000 years ago to 12,000 years ago, at the Grand Canyon is incorrect. Hmm. Ranculobran. It's referring to the probably Americanonyx or cougars that have been found over in the La Brea tar pits in California, along with different specimens of Columbian mammoths, saber-toothed cats. And by the way, the Grand Canyon has also scored certain remains of Columbian mammoths as well, just not as abundant of certain areas of Texas, South Dakota, or the La Brea tar pits in California. Let's see. So we contend that there is no late Pleistocene record of Puma concolor, the American cougar, whether you're in Alaska or Argentina, for the Grand Canyon. Rather, the fossils may have belonged to the American cheetah. As part of their work, the researchers analyzed three different caves previously thought to house puma fossils: Next Door Cave, Rampart Cave, and Stanton's Cave. Rampart Cave is well known for having a wide variety of different Ice Age specimens. Certain prehistoric horses have been discovered there too. I'm not sure if I mentioned, well, I mentioned mammoth for the Grand Canyon overall, but I think there have been certain instances where hyenas or saber-toothed cats brought in certain remains of mammoths into these caves. If that's a funny one. It could be like a youngster, but it looks very cougar-like. I think that's a really good depiction. It's possibly is what it's supposed to be representing. It's probably a Shasta's ground sloth. Shasta's ground sloth, or Sid, was somewhere around maybe 300 to 350 pounds, or somewhere around 130 kilograms. It was one of the smaller species of ground sloth, though I think we tend to see Sid as maybe Megalonyx, which also existed in Central or Western North America, possibly into Canada too, but it was a bit larger, probably reaching somewhere between 6 to 800 pounds or in the 3 to 300, 350 kilogram
Sid
range.
never looked that big.
Um, I would assume he would be around that size considering of how large he was next to Manny, which is probably weighing, well, I don't know, some instances he looks like he could weigh 11 or 12 tons. Other instances, he's probably around the 6 to 7 ton range.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was food.
Yeah, that's probably the bighorn. Yeah, that looks more of like a bighorn sheep when looking at the skull structure and the horn structure too. The coloring would really indicate more of something like possibly a mountain goat, or it's like a Dall sheep. But Dall sheep are really only restricted to the Brooks Range Mountains of the Yukon and Alaska. Now, technically, you can find them further south too, but not down in the Grand Canyon over in like Arizona, Nevada, parts of Utah. So that is a bit odd. The ground sloth just looks confused. And there's a little guy over here. I don't know who he is, but he's shocked. Let's see. So with Rampart Cave in particular, where fossils were dated to between 19,000 and 24,000 years ago, the researchers discovered the remains of two individual cheetahs. Wow. Well, that's good to hear. One juvenile died of causes that were difficult to work out, but the other, a subadult, could have died due to a violent clash with another animal of the same species. Interesting. So it seems like they were able to find possibly bite marks on this specific subadult Americanonyx, and I guess the teeth correlated with the teeth of another Americanonyx. Interesting. Um, I would say that cougar and cheetah conflict. I'd say cheetah conflict is more common than cougars because cougars are quite social and very they tolerate each other quite well, almost like polar bears to an extent. Not to I'd say polar bears, depending on what you're referring to, like male polar bears are quite tolerant of each other. Cougars, it seems like females with their cubs, and then even with strange males, are almost completely acceptable of them just wandering around. So this,
What's that island they were all hanging out on?
um,
Remember what I'm talking about?
well, there's Vancouver Island, which
No, no,
is.
no. Where they were at that abandoned weather station or something, where they're all laying.
Oh, you're talking about the polar bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the cougars. Yeah, it was over, I think, not Wrangel Island. It's adjacent to Wrangel Island in northern Russia. I forgot the name of the area. It's small. It's only like maybe a couple miles long or so, and not even sure if it's like a mile wide. So let's see. They were just waiting for the ice to freeze up, or at least they do annually. Let's see. Where were we? So this possibility is based on the fact that the fossils show puncture marks on the skull, lower jaw, and along the vertebral column that were most likely made by another cheetah, according to the researchers. Violent attacks for interspecific competition are not uncommon in large felids and are well documented in Puma concolor of the North American Southwest. The Grand Canyon fossils show that this felid was adapted to dry uplands and rocky canyons. To survive in these kinds of conditions, Mercanonyx trumani must have been able to traverse the steep canyon slopes to hunt fleet-footed canyon-adapted ungulates and other canyon prey. So it's referring to by ungulates two-toed animals, so probably stalking bighorn sheep. There have been preserved bighorn sheep found in the Grand Canyon from the Ice Age. Um, Maybe pronghorn in lower elevation areas, mountain goats. Trying to think of who else. You might have had it occasionally where might have hunted, like earlier black bears occasionally, but maybe not. I haven't heard of a cougar going after a full-grown black bear. Maybe juveniles. The modern felids most closely fitting this kind of present-day ecology are the snow leopard, Unkia unkia, and the Asiatic cheetah,
Wait, did you say unkia unkia?
unless it's like
I
Untsia
don't know. I
unkia,
just heard you say it. It sounded funny.
and the Asiatic cheetah, Echinonyx jubatus venicatus, or venitatus. Um, So basically, the Asiatic cheetah is just a separate subspecies of the African cheetah, which I think we should take all of them from Iran, just stick them in Africa. Or maybe India. The American cheetah is described as closely related to the modern cougar, according to the U.S. National Park Service, with adaptations for swift running. Well, I mean, technically in short bursts, but nothing definitely like the African cheetah, but this animal is technically not a cheetah. It is more close related to the cougar. Let's see. So it is suggested that the American cheetah or American onyx was once the main predator of the pronghorn antelope. Well, it's not just suggested. There is evidence for American onyx feeding on pronghorn, which might be why the pronghorn antelope today can run much faster. We have evidence for pronghorn already being quite agile before this carnivore evolved. Okay, so is there anything else? It's being a little repetitive. Okay. This was interesting to see. So there's definitely evidence for interspecific combat between American onyx, which is more cheetah-like compared to the cougar. That I would definitely agree on. Okay, let's head back in time to the Mesozoic era. From Sci News, new herbivorous dinosaur species identified in Greenland. A new genus and species of plateosaurid sauropodomorph dinosaur has been identified from two fossilized skulls found in Jameson Island. No, wait, found in Jameson Land, a peninsula in eastern Greenland. I wonder if this is like adjacent to that polar bear population, but this might be further north. This is not your typical plateosaur. This looks more of like one of the earliest saurischians to evolve, like back 235 to 240 million years ago during the early Triassic. Not really a late Triassic, like 220 million year old prosauropod.
That's definitely CGI.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent model. I see Sanek lived in what is now Greenland about approximately 214 million years ago. Sounds like he, never mind. This medium sized, long necked dinosaur was a predecessor of the sauropods, the biggest land animals ever to have thundered across our planet. Well, that's interesting. 214 million years ago. That is a late Triassic. In fact, it's around the same time as animals like Coelophysis would have evolved, as well as different species of large dicynodont proto-mammals. Like, Locarius had probably already gone extinct. It existed over in Arizona, Texas, New Mexico around 220 million years ago. But this would definitely have been the time of Coelophysis. It was at this time that the supercontinent Pangaea broke apart and the Atlantic Ocean began forming, said University of Copenhagen's professor Lars Clemenson and his colleagues. At the time, the Earth was experiencing climate changes that enabled the first plant-eating dinosaurs to reach Europe and beyond. I think by this point, maybe slightly, yeah, I would think around this point. Um, oh, uh, uh, Copenhagen. Apologize for the mispronunciation. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah, around 214 million years ago, dinosaurs were practically covering the Earth. At least when it comes to the earlier species of these saurischians, like the plateosaurs, the herrerasaurs, different species of theropods, the ornithischians that would lead to the evolution of different species of ornithopods, such as the iguanodontids, and then different species of the megacephalians, such as the pachycephalosaurs and ceratopsians, have not evolved yet. They really won't appear until the first 2 to 3 million years of the Jurassic. But right now, this is quite astounding that they are definitely covering Greenland. Now, there does seem to be evidence for the Arctic in general to have a cool climate. So it's very likely that snow would have occurred, but there weren't any major glaciers or ice caps really occurring. Also, it would have been probably quite similar over in Antarctica as well. Let's see. The skulls of two Isisanic individuals, a middle stage juvenile and a late stage juvenile or subadult, were uncovered in 1994 from the late Triassic outcrops of the Malmros Clint Formation in Jamson Land, Greenland. Interesting. So these are not recently discovered specimens. These were back, what, 32 years? That's quite something. The anatomy of the two skulls is unique in many respects. For example, in the shape and proportions of the bones, these specimens certainly belong to a new species, said Dr. Victor Beccari, a paleontologist at the Universidade Nova de Lisboa, Museu da Lourinhã, and the SNSB
There we go again.
Irish Staatsammlung für Paläontologie und Geologie.
Jeez.
So, do we have somebody from working in like Spain and Germany or Switzerland? Um, Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Where do I go at? Oh, whoa. Okay. Here's a skull. Well, very well preserved teeth over here. Clearly, it looks like we're looking at probably an herbivore. There are certain species of prosauropods where it's likely that the animals might have been omnivorous, so possibly feeding
Those teeth
on.
look sharp.
Yeah, well, plant eaters did or do have sharper teeth than carnivores. But with certain species, especially when looking at the prosauropods, it's possible they might have been feeding on certain species of fish. They might have even been scavenging from other dinosaur kills, maybe prosauropods or dead theropods they come upon, or the crocodilomorphs, which possibly even inhabited Greenland back in the late Triassic. So let's see what else they found. I'm guessing this is just from a further distance. Wow. Oh wait, no, I think there's two individuals at least. Okay. So one of the specimens was originally assigned to Plateosaurus trusingensis, a long-necked dinosaur that lived in Germany, France, and Switzerland during the Triassic period. Also Plateosaurus has been discovered over in Greenland as well. Let's bring up Plateosaurus. It's been a little bit. So Plateo. So Plateosaurus is one of the more renowned species of prosauropods. You could even say dinosaurs in general from the Triassic. It's probably Plateosaurus and Coelophysis in general. Uh, This sort of looks like a volcanodon decided to, um, you know what? Maybe it's not a volcanodon. There is a certain species of prosauropod. Well, there's a few different species from the early Jurassic as well as the late Triassic that would have had this sort of a physique to an extent. I think the claws might be, or the arms in general, might be a bit short and thick
Yo,
compared to its
wait,
body size.
look at the muscles on these guys.
Well, these individuals look a little more leaner. These might correlate with certain species from the early Jurassic, not necessarily members of the Massospondylidea lineage of prosauropods. Plateosauridae really had gone extinct by the early Jurassic. Let's see, but I am referring to like 180, 290 million years ago. So this seems to be an older depiction, possibly from like the 1960s or the 1970s, maybe earlier. It's okay. I mean, it is giving somewhat short legs, I think, compared to its body size. When it comes to Plateosaurus, they would be a bit longer. I don't think they would, or they wouldn't necessarily be this stocky. Also, a bit of a longer tail compared to its body size. I also think the core might be a little too thick. What is this from? Like Prehistoric Kingdom? These aren't bad. I mean, they definitely gave Plateosaurus a much more, almost like something between a hadrosaur or like a medium-sized iguanodontid. Like, I'm thinking of something maybe like a Ouranosaurus, so the sail-backed iguanodontid from northern Africa during the early Cretaceous. And like the arms also have a bit of like an iguanodontid sort of, I guess, musculature or just bit of a morphology to them. But iguanodontids had much more muscular, especially iguanodon forelimbs. And then a prosauropod in the midst of it. This is a bit of an earlier depiction. This might be early 2000s or 1990s, but I still think it's a really good picture. The problem is, especially with the individuals in the background, is it's showing the Plateosaurus walking on all fours. And this used to be the theory or the projection of Plateosaurus is that it was a quadruped. But more recent analysis has shown that this animal seems to be strictly a biped and also had far too small of forearms compared to its body size to really support any weight. And the way that they would have held their arms was not really suited for um, really putting any pressure on the ground at all. Now, possibly digging for roots or tubers. It also seems to be that Plateosaurus was likely feeding on different species of ferns, earlier species of conifers back in Triassic. There weren't any species of flowers at this point. Now, it also doesn't look like Plateosaurus was necessarily omnivorous. This is one of the others. This is a bit closer to like the representation of the 1999 series Walking with Dinosaurs Plateosaurus, which I
Those
mean,
arms are huge.
yeah, I mean, I like its unique look, but the problem is it was not a quadruped. There are quite a few off things about it when it comes to the neck structure. Also the head to an extent. I think it could have a slight bit more of like a taller sort of a stature to the upper jaw. The tail is a bit too stiff, and it's almost like that of what we would see in certain depictions of earlier species of hadrosaurs or guanodontids.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, from, like, the 1990s where they're, like, sticking up towards, like, a diagonal position, in the air, and in reality, they would have been kind of even with the body, but also have a bit more of, like, a relaxed type of a structure to them or movement, whereas it was a bit too stiff. Let's see, what is this? Oh, it's Prehistoric Kingdoms. Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, as you can see, quite small arms compared to its body size. They also gave a lot more length to the hind limbs, at least compared to the older drawing. Which I mean, for the time, it wasn't bad, but yeah, this is definitely better. It is interesting. You can really see the similarities between theropod dinosaurs. Like, let's look up maybe Dilophosaurus. Just stick him in. Dilophosaurus. AURUS. Let's see. So what am I trying to say here? Oh, I mean, you could possibly even say a similar thing with the skull structure, but really, when looking at the toes or the feet of these two animals, and also looking at the leg structure overall, it's somewhat similar to an extent. I mean, you could say that the um, prosauropods really weren't as built for running as many species of medium-sized theropod dinosaurs, whether during the Triassic period or later into the incoming Jurassic. So, Dilophosaurus was slightly smaller, at least when it comes to length of Plateosaurus. Likely, it was a bit less when it came to weight, but Dilophosaurus was somewhere around 20 feet in length. They're pushing 6 meters. Probably weighed somewhere around 16 to 1700 pounds, or pushing around 800 kilograms. And Plateosaurus, on the other hand, was somewhere around 26 feet in length. They're pushing around 8 meters and likely weighed somewhere around 2 tons, maybe even larger. There have been certain
Is that a
estimates.
Dilophosaurus?
Oh, it wasn't even hitting me. I mean, yeah, this is Jurassic Park's model, which is very off. Okay, yeah, we need here we go. He's better. I mean, at least he doesn't have the frill, but he's got a lot of issues. Um, yeah, okay, he's far too stiff. His feet are very I've seen this with certain depictions of predatory dinosaurs. Um, like the toes are sticking up in the air for some reason. They gave extremely large fat cushions of like fatty tissue for the toes. Whoa, okay, here's a better look. Wow. That is exquisitely well depicted plumage on his overall body. And even his tooth structure looks pretty good. His crest, though, I mean, the artist gave him a much shorter crest, and also a bit, like diverged, or I guess tilted towards the side, and a very large earlobe. It's kind of interesting. I mean, decently sized arms too. This might be a bit of an older model. Definitely not having feathers. That was also interesting. They gave feathers to the Dilophosaurus. Dilophosaurus was existing over in Colorado around 150 million years ago.
This guy looks like he's related to a porcupine.
I believe it was also described by possibly Edward Drinker Cope as well. I'll have to double check on that. What'd you say about this?
Looks like he's related to a porcupine.
Yeah, it does here, giving him osteoderms, which is something you might see on certain depictions of larger carnosaurs later on into the Jurassic and the Cretaceous periods. But Dilophosaurus is not a member of the carnosaur lineage. It is a member of the Neotheropoda lineage of theropods, and as well as a member of the Dilophosauridae, which is not a large group of the Neotheropods of the early Jurassic, but they were closely related to different other large theropods like um, Monolophosaurus, Cryolophosaurus, a bit distantly related to the Ceratosaurians like Saltria which existed somewhere around 8 to 9 million years before Dilophosaurus would have evolved. This is a really good depiction. It's not hitting me what specific prosauropod that they would be feeding on, but seems to be one of the larger species that roamed Western North America at this point, even possibly into Eastern North America as well. But I think they might have given feathers to like the upper neck, unless those are supposed to be osteoderms. They look like
They're
feathers
feathers.
for the Dilophosaurus. This is definitely, yeah, quite interesting. Definitely a bit of a like that thinner sort of I guess more sleek Dilophosaurus representation. Dilophosaurus, you could say, was like a slightly more heavily built species of theropod dinosaur for its time. Later on into the Jurassic, not in very much time at all, like possibly around 10 million years later, much more robust species of theropod dinosaurs would evolve. What was I getting at with this?
I don't know.
Thing went on to Plateosaurus, and I was comparing. We need to go back. I was comparing the Plateosaurus's feet with the Dilophosaurus's feet, or at least when it comes to theropods and prosauropods. And that just shows how closely related they were. And they're both part of the Sauriskian lineage. Even when it comes to their skull structures to an extent. If you really don't know what you're looking at, somebody could possibly mistake a prosauropod with a theropod skull. Very different from their later descendants, the larger sauropods, though many of them were feeding on different species of ferns and conifers. So back to Triassic Greenland. It is exciting to discover a close relative of the well-known Plateosaurus, hundreds of which have already been found in Germany. Oh yeah, that's a nice thing about Plateosaurus, especially over in Central Europe, is that it's quite abundant in different Triassic fossil basins over in Germany, said Dr. Oliver Wings, a paleontologist at the Martin Luther University Halle-Wittenberg. Wittenberg. Isisanic differs from all other sauropodomorphs discovered so far. However, it has similarities with Brazilian dinosaurs such as Macrolum itaqui and Uneosaurus talentonoi. So I think these are also two other prosauropods from South America. And these are not sauropods because sauropods, when basing off this specific species that was just discovered, won't evolve for probably another 30 to 35 million years. So together with Plateosaurus troussengensis, these dinosaurs belong to Plateosauridae, a family of sauropodomorphs from the late Triassic of Europe, Greenland, Africa, and Asia. Okay, if you're referring to Plateosauridae, yes, technically this group of sauropodomorphs is limited compared to the whole lineage in general of prosauropods, which basically cover the earth. You can find them over in Antarctica as well, different parts of Australia. Am I forgetting somebody else? North America. So our findings are the first evidence of a distinct Greenlandic. Oh, Greenland is part of North America. Of a distinct.
It is?
Yeah, geographically, it's part of North America. It's just politically, it's Denmark. So our findings are the first evidence of a distinct. Wait, is it still?
Is it still owned by them? No one's quite sure.
Okay. We're talking about Triassic, so our findings are the first evidence of a distinct Greenlandic dinosaur species, which not only adds to the diverse range of dinosaurs from the late Triassic, but also allows us to better understand the evolutionary pathways and timeline of the iconic group of sauropods that inhabited the Earth for nearly 150 million years. Sauropods, the true sauropods in general. Oh, wait a second. Okay, if you're taking that into account, 150. They weren't necessarily around for that long. I mean, the sauropods, true sauropods started evolving around 180 to 185 million years ago. And then went extinct about 66 million years ago. So it might be a little off, like a little too far when it comes to the timeline. But besides that, thanks for joining. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Happy International Americanotics Day. And we're streaming on both Rumble, YouTube, and Kick. And remember, nothing is